For more than 50 years, APDA has funded pioneering research and provided critical support to those affected by Parkinson's. Visit apdaoptimism.org today to find out how you can help millions live with dignity and optimism. Your action today will help APDA put an end to Parkinson's disease.
I definitely feel like the words veteran and homeless should never go together.
Sergeant Michelle Garcia served meritoriously in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I had friends, and I went and stayed at a friend's house, and then I realized, well, you're staying at your friend's house, but how long can you stay there? Where are you going to go? Where are you going to call home?
Lieutenant Richard Stokely took the skills he learned in Vietnam and put them to use as a paramedic. But after they left the service, these veterans had problems with homelessness. Michelle lost all her savings, and Richard battled alcoholism for years.
It started taking me down, all the way down to the point where I lost my family and I ended up homeless.
A simple phone call to 877-424-3838 put them in touch with the Department of Veterans Affairs. If you are a veteran in need, or you know a veteran who is homeless or at risk of being homeless, call 877-424-3838 or visit va.gov/homeless.
Talk 1470 is WWNN Pompano Beach and 95.3 FM W237BD Boca Raton, the Health and Wealth Radio Network.
AM 1470 with more of what you need to know. Don't miss Travelers 411 with Stephanie Abrams each Sunday night from 5 to 7 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN.
Thousands of people around the world are learning how extra money can be made from home at Online Trading Academy. Learn about stocks, options, futures, and Forex. Here's a trading tip from one of the instructors.
You see what we've done at the Academy? We've taken this and we've simplified it down to just the basic factors that you need. There's a set of rules, follow them. There's a scoring system. If it scores greater than 7, take the trade. Set the trade up, walk away and forget it with 3 major components: a stop, an entry, and a target. If you don't know what those mean, come in, we'll teach you those.
Online Trading Academy. Learn the right way to trade stocks and more. Thousands have learned how extra money can be made from home and how risk is limited. See how it works. Reserve a pair of seats at a free half-day class in Broward and Palm Beach. Call now. Online Trading Academy, 561-674-9800. 561-674-9800. That's 561-674-9800.
Talk health, talk wealth, talk politics, talk 1470 and 95.3 FM WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to the Ask the Expert Show with local celebrity host Steve-O. Sit back each week while Steve-O educates you with live in-studio experts, such as lawyers, doctors, home improvement, and financial experts in their field. Call in and have your questions answered each week at 888-565-1470. Now, here is Steve-O with today's expert in their field.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Steve-O with another Ask the Experts. Today is Criminal Law Day. For the next 30 minutes, we've got one of the... I always have to be careful I say this because the bar might be listening, but guy's really good, though. We were just talking about some of his cases. Let me welcome Antonio Valiente. Now, his office is in Miami, but he covers all of Palm Beach, Broward, and Dade. And every time I talk to him, I'm going, if I ever get into a criminal situation where I need a lawyer, this is the guy I want to hire. Today, we're going to kind of be all over the place. I was just asking Antonio, and welcome. Good to see you.
Thanks. Good to be back also, Steve.
Yeah, good to see you. And God, we got 3 emails, I guess about a week and a half ago, all on the same day, which is like, that's never happens, saying, are you going to still do the criminal law show? Because last month we had a skip. I forgot what it was. We had a skip. So, yes, we're doing the criminal law show. And Antonio will be back next week. First of all, for those who've never heard you, tell us about your practice.
Thanks, Steve.
Good to see you, bro.
Thanks for having me on. Again, always a pleasure. My firm is Valiente Law. We criminal defense firm, small firm. We are based out of our office is based out of Miami. We do have offices in Broward County and in Palm Beach County, in both downtown Fort Lauderdale and downtown West Palm Beach, where we'll meet with clients up there, especially if they have cases in those other counties. We handle cases, from DUIs and petty theft and driving with suspended license, all the way up to burglaries, armed robberies, rapes, murders.
Well, you just worked on a murder case. You were telling me a couple weeks ago.
We did, yeah. I think I said a couple weeks ago, but now it was the last week of June or ended the first week of July. It was a 2 week long trial. Yeah, time flies.
So, was this in Dade County?
This case was. It was in Dade County.
And you were even shocked, you said. So you never know. You never know which way a jury's going to go, but boy, they went in your favor.
Yeah, we had a good result. It was a second-degree murder charge, and they jury was out for just under 45 minutes. A 2 week long trial.
You just reminded me of something. I got to ask this. So this kid last week in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
Why is that second degree? I thought second degree was like you weren't trying to kill, you didn't want to kill him, or you weren't trying to kill him, but you did. But first degree, you meant to kill the person.
Yeah, so the difference between first and second, and this is, actually I used to teach like a criminal justice class when I was in law school, and we used to have an entire class just dedicated to describing like the different types of murder, or different types of homicide, because it is kind of nuanced. But the difference between first degree and second degree in most places, and in Florida absolutely, is first degree murder involves premeditation and deliberation. So there's some sort of planning.
Right.
Now, I don't want to say it's a misnomer, but most people think planning, okay, that means that you were perhaps, at home and you came up with this plan, elaborate plan to kill somebody.
Right.
Not necessarily. I mean, there's sort of a famous quote by a judge in an opinion that premeditation and deliberation can happen in the blink of an eye.
Really? Okay.
So that's probably the exception more so than the rule.
Didn't you think this guy had it planned out though?
So
they're saying the thought just came to his. If they're going for second degree, are they saying it just came to his head?
So second degree is usually like a depraved heart murder, which means that you did something that either you should have known or a reasonable person would have known is pretty likely to lead to death.
Okay.
Maybe you did not plan specifically to kill a particular person or a group of people, but you should have known that
40
it was
miles
likely,
an hour going
exactly.
into a crowd.
Getting into a car, you're upset, you're driving to this group of protesters. I mean, he may not have thought in that moment, like, yes, I want to kill all of these people, but if he was, a rational person thinking...
Well, I don't think he was rational either.
No, he was not
rational.
rational.
Let me ask you, do you think it should be second-degree murder?
It's tough a lot of times.
It's a gray line, isn't it?
It's, and that's where probably the state attorneys or the district attorney up there in Virginia, I'm not sure exactly which they have, it's kind of tough. I mean, because that's they're the ones that make the charging decision.
Right.
It's not, it's not the governor. It's not the governor. It's the state. The state attorney or the district attorney has 100% of that discretion to decide what they're going to charge, what they think that they can prove, what's the highest offense that they can prove, and if let's say the highest offense they could prove is first-degree murder, do they want to charge first-degree murder? Because maybe, in all honesty, they think it's second, but they could probably prove first. You have a lot of prosecutors who would probably go and say, you know what, first-degree murder. In most states that have the death penalty, Florida's one of them, Virginia's another one, that first degree versus second degree means a difference of death penalty or no death penalty.
Exactly.
So that's also a big, certainly a big factor.
Well, you can actually watch today's show by going to Antonio's website at www.valientelaw.com. His phone number is 786-361-6887. If you're listening to us on 1470 AM, you can also hear us on 95.3 FM. And you know what? Maybe we might even try to get some questions in today. If you are having a criminal law problem, maybe a friend of yours, a relative of yours, give us a phone call here at 888-565-1470. It's 888-565-1470. Now, you were talking about another one of your cases you were working on. And we're not giving any names out here, but to me, I learned so much just listening to you just telling me about your cases that you're working on. But aren't the court systems really, can you get to court right away?
Florida is
And is there a
as
law
far as
saying
that,
how long they can keep you before you have to go to court?
Yeah, so in Florida, it's a little bit, I think, better than in most other states, where in Florida you have from the date of your arrest. If you're charged with a misdemeanor, you have an automatic right to a speedy trial. Basically, the clock starts ticking from, well, technically the day after you're arrested, but 90 days for a misdemeanor and 175 days for a felony.
That seems like a long time to be in jail.
Well, it's whether you're in jail or not in jail, right? So if you're out of jail, there's still that 175 or 90-day window. Now, if you take a continuance or at some point you cause there to be a delay in that trial date, let's say you get arrested on a Monday, they set the case for trial exactly 1 month later, and it's a first-degree murder. There's no attorney that's going to be ready for a first-degree murder case in a month. I mean, I'm exaggerating. That wouldn't happen, but obviously you're going to take that attorney's going to take a continuance. He's going to want to take depositions. He's going to want to investigate the case. I mean, there's, tons of stuff that goes into it, into the preparation. Once he takes that defense continuance, that clock disappears. So then the case could take 10 years.
Right.
However, you can always file what's called a demand for a speedy trial, which it basically is just a piece of paper that you file, one-page notice saying it's putting the state and the court on notice that you are ready for trial. You're ready for trial, and you want to go to trial. And at that point, no matter how long it's been since you've been arrested, you have a 50-day clock basically starts ticking at that point.
I had a person ask me to ask you something. In Florida, if you're driving around, you're intoxicated, you're pulled over, what should you say? Because they're going to ask you for your driver's license. I guess they're going to ask you for proof of insurance.
Most likely.
Okay, but you watch TV,
mm-hmm.
and they're always saying, don't say anything. But on shows like Cops, that really upsets the police officer.
Yeah, well, and it's just kind of weird, right? When you have a right not to incriminate yourself, and so they're going to ask you, well, have you been drinking at all? It's like, you could kind of just keep your mouth shut, but it's going to look kind of weird.
Yes.
Right? And
so what would you tell someone who's pulled over, who has been drinking? Because you could probably smell it on them.
Yeah, it's just so... Every case really is so different. It's hard to say that there's any kind of... any advice that you would give everybody, especially now with diversion programs that they have for first-time offenders. So that's something that would also influence what they should say. It's if this is your first offense or not. If this would be your first offense, and this guy's he's gonna arrest you and he's gonna ask you to take a breathalyzer test.
Should you take the breathalyzer test?
Again, it's going to depend on a lot of those other factors, such as how much you've been drinking, what county you're in. In Broward, there's no diversion program. It's probably a safe bet to always say no there.
Okay. So Broward,
just don't commit crimes in Broward. Period. I mean,
is that right?
Yeah. Just on the way up here, I was talking to a client of someone who has an attorney currently for a misdemeanor traffic offense. They have one prior traffic offense on their record it wasn't, I think it was no valid driver's license, and then that was like almost a decade ago. No arrests, not even a speeding ticket until now, where they pick up a driving with suspended license. It's a first-degree misdemeanor, and in Broward, and they're asking for 10 days in jail.
Wow.
It's something that, Dade, Palm Beach, as long as you go get your license straightened out and show up to court with a good license, they'd probably just dismiss the charges. But in Broward, they want them to spend 10 days in jail.
What jail do you not want to go to down here in South Florida?
I don't know that there's a good jail to go to.
I know.
Right?
Well,
I mean,
if you're going, it's definitely not. I'm just saying, are there some jails down here that are tougher than others that you want to make sure you don't ever break any laws in that county?
They have different jails, even within the same county. I mean, just in Dade County, you have the main jail, Dade County Jail. You have the TGK, Metro West, the Stockade. So I mean, just there alone, you have 4 different jails. I mean, I know of those 4 people don't like being at the pretrial detention center, the one that's right next to the courthouse. It's certainly the one that I like going the least to visit clients.
Right.
There's a smell in there that just doesn't. You just don't get used to it.
Right.
It's not. It's tough to describe.
I can understand. I can understand. So one of the things I do want to continue talking about is DWIs. Is that what it goes by here? Because I know some states
DUI.
It's called DUI.
Yeah, here in
Florida.
Here
it's DUI.
Right.
And would that be for alcohol or drugs?
It would. Yeah.
Okay. What's going on with the marijuana? I mean, if you're caught with marijuana, I keep reading places that there's like plenty of tolerance. Not no tolerance, but plenty of.
Yeah, I think there is a lot.
Is that what's happening out there?
You're seeing a ton of less arrests for just misdemeanor possession of marijuana. There's actually some statistics that I read recently that in South Florida, it was something it tracked the last couple years, the number of civil citations, which is just basically like, let's say the cops stop you and were to find you with a small amount of marijuana, they could arrest you for that, or they could just basically give you what's called a civil citation, which is just like hey, don't do this. You're violating a county, state ordinance. Has gone up for possession of marijuana by like in the 1000th percentile in the last 2 years in South Florida, meaning it's not that they're stopping or catching less people with possession of small amounts of marijuana, but they're just not taking them into custody. They're not arresting them. They're basically giving them a ticket saying, hey, don't do that, pay a fine instead.
Well,
and it's something that doesn't go on your record and also doesn't a misdemeanor marijuana possession, you might not do any time in jail because of it. However, pleading guilty to it will lead to your license getting suspended automatically for at least a year, up to 2 years.
Well, we've got to go to break. When we come back, I want to talk about expungement.
All right.
Every state is different, but I want to see what expungement's like for Florida.
Yeah, one of the worst in the country. So it'll be a short segment.
We're here with Antonio Valiente. He's a criminal attorney. His phone number is 786-361-6887. We come back, we have more with Attorney Valiente.
Attorney Antonio Valiente has been chosen as the expert in criminal law by the Ask the Experts radio show. He has extensive experience successfully trying cases ranging from traffic misdemeanors to first-degree murder. Attorney Valiente has successfully argued motions to suppress, stand your ground, motions for new trials, and for judgment of acquittal, and defended clients in pretrial detention and probation violation hearings. Making sure you are represented by the most experienced and competent attorney in your criminal case you may have is essential. Attorney Antonio Valiente emphasizes to all his clients that while he is their attorney, he will guide them through the entire legal process and work together as a team. It is very important that your attorney is available to you to answer any questions you have. Attorney Antonio Valiente handles DUI cases, drug crimes, theft crimes, sex crimes, juvenile crimes, violent crimes, and gun weapons-related crimes. If you get arrested, you need Attorney Valiente on your side. You can contact him at 786-361-6887. That's 786-361-6887. Or go to Attorney Antonio Valiente at valientelaw.com. Attorney Valiente practices in Palm Beach County, Broward County, and Dade County.
And we are back. We're here with Attorney Antonio Valiente. I got to ask you, I was going to ask you this off the air, but it doesn't matter. Uh-oh. So you see all these big criminal cases here in South Florida, and I see the attorneys, and I deal with attorneys with our shows. I've never heard of any of these guys. There's not one. I mean, I'm not saying they have to be a Roy Black, but all these people who are working on big cases, I've never heard of them. But they're local, though.
One of the things that happens is there's not very many wealthy people who are committing murders and are committing these sensational crimes. So a lot of times the names of the attorneys you're hearing are assistant public defenders, or let's say for some reason the public defender's office has to conflict on the case, they can't represent them. There's the office of regional counsel or conflict counsel, which they take the cases that the public defenders can't take. And then if they can't stay on the case again, they're different appointed attorneys that are on a list, and eventually,
they might be public defenders.
They might be, right. And then
there could be two of them.
Well,
because you'll have someone might see two attorneys. Wow, this must be a fairly good-sized law firm.
Well, capital cases, they'll still appoint one attorney. Public defender's office has a whole unit dedicated to capital cases. Assuming they can't take the case for whatever reason, though, and it goes to a private attorney, or they're called PCAC, which are private court-appointed counsel. It'll still be.
Do they tell you how much they're going to pay you?
It's a flat fee. Well, it's complicated.
Okay.
There's flat fees, depends on the type of case, and then for capital stuff, everything kind of changes. But you'll get two attorneys on the capital cases. The state will pay both of them, and they don't have to be from the same firm.
Wow. Okay.
They just have to be both death qualified, certified to be able to take death penalty cases.
Okay. So before we went to break, I said I wanted to talk about expungement.
Mm-hmm.
Now, explain to everybody what expungement is.
Well, you hear people talk about, having their record sealed or having their sealed and expunged sort of interchangeably. It's just the process that as far as I know, most states have it in some form or another, where you can have a particular arrest or conviction taken off of your record. That said, the reason I said before going to break, it's going to be pretty short, is because in Florida in particular, Florida has one of the strictest and most limited
so the
eligibilities for
are slim.
So you're only allowed to have one arrest sealed or expunged in your lifetime, and it has to be. It can't be a conviction. So if you plead guilty to anything, that's it. I mean, if you're wondering, I wonder if I could, seal or expunge something. It's like, did you plead guilty? Yes. Then you can't. Period.
So
misdemeanor, felony, doesn't matter. If you pled guilty, that's that. Who can? If a case is dismissed, you're arrested and they never file charges, or they do file charges but then they dismiss it. You go to trial. It's a not guilty verdict at trial, or you successfully complete a diversion program and then the charges get dismissed. Those people are eligible to seal or expunge their record. The only thing that sucks about it, though, is that, again, you can only do this once in your life. So let's say going with the possession of marijuana example, you get arrested for possession of marijuana, and the state ends up dismissing the charges. Great. You contact a lawyer or you do it yourself. You have that record sealed and expunged. Perfect. It's off your record.
People out there not to defend themselves, please.
6 months later, a year later, 2 years, 20 years later, right? You get stopped for, again, possession of marijuana, let's say. Regardless of what happens with that case, let's say it's dismissed. That's it. You already used your one expungement 20 years ago.
Wow. Never goes away.
That one back then goes away. Your new one exactly stays on your record. You don't have the opportunity. So I know that the public defender's office in Miami has been lobbying, and I know different public defender's offices around the state, have all been lobbying to change that, because it's so limiting, right? And you think to yourself, well, why give people more chances to seal or expunge? But the reality is, a lot of people will get. Again, the people from different socioeconomic levels and different, that live in different places. It's not uncommon for you to get, for you to see someone's record with 5, 10 arrests, and every single one are for, very petty offenses, and every single one has been dismissed. And you just have to, after you see it enough times, you have to ask yourself, well, I mean, is this person just really lucky, and everyone is dismissed? Or were some of these maybe a little bit, BS, where they kind of like trumped up charges? But that person, again, even if no matter what they do, only one of those can get taken off their record. So every time for the rest of their life, when they go apply for a job, et cetera, no, they've never been convicted, but you better believe that company is going to see the arrests, and they're not going to tell them, hey, we're not hiring you because you've been arrested for this. However, the reality is, again, it happens.
I think I've told you this before on the show. I think the thing that I really just shocked me, and, this show is to educate people, is my son was online. A lot of people do. I mean, that's not uncommon.
Not uncommon.
They don't want to go into the bars. They just want to maybe meet somebody online. And he did. Met someone online. And they ended up meeting. And they ended up meeting at would turn out to be her mother's house that she lives with, and invited him back again. And all of a sudden grew a conscience. Told her mom she wasn't. She was 17.
Yeah, I remember when you did tell me about that.
People don't know that. It's and so his lawyer said, you got to show ID, asking for ID, but who does that?
Well, in your son's case, when he walked in there and he saw that algebra textbook in the bedroom, right. That should have tipped him off.
Yeah,
That
right.
she probably
That's right. But she lived at home, and she said that's her house.
It's not. I mean, it's not funny at all. Is the reality, right? I mean,
but
we joke about it because it already happened. And he's moved on. Yes, it is something that's going to stay with him for the rest of his life. However,
yes,
no, exactly. It's not. It's not funny, and it's really.
No,
I mean,
this is
extremely.
And because the district attorney was voted into office, the mother said, "You better put this guy away, my son,
right?
Or I'm going to go to all the TV stations in town." Even though it was the daughter who lied.
Yeah.
And I just think that a lot of people don't know things about the law that would probably shock them. Because I said, oh, it's just in Texas, but it's not. It's the whole United States is like that.
Yeah, no, it's a class of crimes that are they're called strict liability offenses, meaning it doesn't matter if you knew, didn't know. It doesn't matter if she showed you her ID and she had a fake ID. It doesn't matter if you do this act, right? If you are over a certain age and you have sexual intercourse with a girl, with a person younger than this, whatever, you could be married.
She could have showed you a phony ID.
She could have showed you a real ID, a fake ID. Her mother could have been there and said, hey, it's totally okay. You're allowed to go have sex with my daughter.
Right.
None
of
it matters.
Make the bed for you.
None of it matters. As long as if it happens, you have now committed the crime, period. Now, obviously, in certain situations, you might have a better defense, right? And just hope that the jury... But he got
10 years probation.
Yeah.
And folks, I'm going to tell you something. If you think probation is getting off of something...
No.
I mean, he couldn't even go to playgrounds.
Has he finished it?
He's got about 3 years left, but he ended up having a baby. Imagine having a baby and you're not even able to go to the playgrounds. But they did lower the sentence because it allowed him to be around kids. It's not going to go down as a sexual predator at all. But
right. He won't have to register, but he still had to do the sex offender probation.
And it's not easy.
No, regular probation is difficult. Sex offender probation is extremely difficult. I mean, even, again, most law-abiding citizens who have never committed a crime in their lives, if you were to say, hey, try doing 10 years of probation, I think the safe bet is going to be that they will violate probation at some point. I mean, it's just so... Most attorneys will tell you that probation, it's a trap. It is 100% a trap. Courts will, some judges look at it, and the prosecutors a lot of times look at it as that they're giving you a second chance. And if the alternative is a long prison sentence, it sure as heck beats it. But the reality is, a lot of times, most of the time, probation, it's kind of like a deferred prison sentence.
Hey, listen, we're coming to the end of the show. Give everybody your phone numbers, because I know you have different phone numbers for each county, don't you?
Well, we have two. We have one for Dade County, which is the main number, 786-361-6887. And then our for Broward and Palm Beach, it's 954-634-2764.
Now they can reach you 24/7.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not like an answering service.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
right.
like my
And
cell
it's
phone will ring.
Free consultation.
We do.
Okay.
Yep.
Listen, you know what? Seriously, I want you to write this phone number down because I'm going to tell you something. You never know. You never know. We got a great criminal attorney here. Just give everybody your phone number one more time.
Yep. It's 786-361-6887. And then in Broward and Palm Beach, 954-634-2764.
Antonio, it's attorney Antonio Valiente. You sure earned that. So it's attorney Antonio Valiente. If you ever get in trouble, have a family member, just give them a call. We're going to go to break, and when we come back, we have our next Ask the Expert show. We're going to be doing, I think it's immigration law today. Yeah, immigration law. So we're going to go. We'll be right back, and
Plenty of stuff
Antonio
to
will
talk
be
about
back.
there.
Yeah, Antonio will be with us next month.
Thank you, Steve.
Attorney Antonio Valiente has been chosen as the expert in criminal law by the Ask the Experts radio show. He has extensive experience successfully trying cases ranging from traffic misdemeanors to first-degree murder. Attorney Valiente has successfully argued motions to suppress, stand your ground, motions for new trials, and for judgment of acquittal, and defended clients in pretrial detention and probation violation hearings. Making sure you are represented by the most experienced and competent attorney in your criminal case you may have is essential. Attorney Antonio Valiente emphasizes to all his clients that while he is their attorney, he will guide them through the entire legal process and work together as a team. It is very important that your attorney is available to you to answer any questions you have. Attorney Antonio Valiente handles DUI cases, drug crimes, theft crimes, sex crimes, juvenile crimes, violent crimes, and gun weapons-related crimes. If you get arrested, you need Attorney Valiente on your side. You can contact him at 786-361-6887. That's 786-361-6887. Or go to Attorney Antonio Valiente at valientelaw.com. Attorney Valiente practices in Palm Beach County, Broward County, and Dade County. At the law offices of Grant Kaplan, located in Boca Raton, they have a depth and breadth of experience